More news now from Essex, Suffolk and Norfolk. And a 21-year-old man from Ipswich who stole tributes to Sir Bobby Robson has been sentenced to 8 weeks in prison. At an earlier hearing, Jamie Underwood admitted taking 28 football shirts, a scarf and a flag on the 15th of August, 2 weeks after the former Ipswich manager lost his battle with cancer. The tributes had been left by a statue of Sir Bobby outside Portman Road.
The Norwich Labour Party is asking the party's National Executive Committee to apologise over the handling of the former MP Ian Gibson. Well, Dr Gibson resigned his seat in June after being told he couldn't stand for the party at the next general election because of his expenses claims. Dr Gibson and the local party also want assurances that future hearings will include an appeal process.
Now, they're a familiar sight and sound of summertime, but it's feared that bees are under threat from pollution and destruction of their natural habitat.
So, now at Pensthorpe Nature Reserve near Fakenham in Norfolk, they're trying to give the insects a bit of a helping hand by encouraging people to make their gardens more bee-friendly. Stuart Leith has more.
They're often taken for granted unless you're unlucky enough to experience the sting in their tail. But bees are having a bit of a tough time. The population in this country has been in decline. And now the Pensthorpe Nature Reserve near Fakenham is trying to encourage visitors to help.
We're farming up to the edges. We're not giving them the space they had. A lot of the wild flower meadows, which would have been great habitat for bees, no longer exist, and something like 90% of our wild flower meadows have been wiped out in the last 60 years. So what people are interested in doing is what they can do. You know, how can they help biodiversity? What can they do in their gardens? And what you see here in this Pensthorpe garden is some of the steps you can take at home.
The park already has its own healthy bee population in hives looked after by beekeeper Phil Walker. These are the smaller variety known as honeybees. This is a slightly larger bumblebee. And at Pensthorpe, they want people with gardens to make them a more bee-friendly environment.
Put a bit more pollen in there, a bit more colour in there, so that bees have got food right the way through the year, not just for a few months of the year, after which time they lose their strength and their health.
It seems then that anyone with a garden can help make a better life for bees, so it won't just be beekeepers who are preserving the population. Stuart Leith's Anglia News, Pensthorpe.
Well, sport now, and our championship teams are still waiting for their first league wins of the season.
A disallowed goal denied Peterborough their opportunity at QPR, while Ipswich crumbled to their fourth championship defeat out of 6 games at Middlesbrough. But manager Roy Keane still insists they'll get it right. Donovan Blake has more.
He's called for patience and he's asked for fans to have faith in him. Roy Keane's body language didn't give the impression of a man under pressure at today's media briefing. But how much faith and patience do Ipswich supporters have now?
It's only 6 games into the season, so got to give him a chance, really. I think he'll be gone by Christmas. I think he will either walk or they'll get rid of him, personally.
I've obviously paid a lot of money to get Roy Keane in, and with his name, reputation in the game, I think they've got to stand by him.
There's no magic wand to it, you know. We're trying different players, we're trying different systems. We're looking at players every day. We've got to give the benefit to some of the new players who've come into the club, give them a chance to settle in, and it will turn.
Ipswich's problems are at both ends of the pitch. Too many goals conceded, 3 more at Middlesbrough, some of them of their own making. And not enough goals scored, although they did grab a consolation from the penalty spot through Jonathan Walters. So as Ipswich stay in the drop zone, Peterborough move out of it for now, although they too couldn't grab that elusive first league win. Their lead at QPR, given to them by Aaron McLean, was cancelled out before the break. And when they scored again late in the second half through Craig McHale-Smith, their celebrations were cut short because of offside. Draws too for our Essex rivals in League One. Ashley Vincent's bravery in scoring Colchester's opener at Swindon came at a price. He couldn't continue because of injury. Southend may have ended Leeds United's 100% start to the season, but they could have inflicted more damage with a win. However, Lee Barnard couldn't deliver when his big chance came from the penalty spot. Donovan Blake, Anglia News.
Well, Norwich City had the weekend off, so tonight they play catch-up in League One against the MK Dons. And what an incentive for Paul Lambert's team. If they win at Stadium MK, they will be level on points with the Dons, who are just outside the playoff zone. But Lambert says Norwich still has a lot to do after their slow start.
There's no point looking up there at the minute until we catch the ones just directly above us, and that's what we'll try and do. And once you try and get a run going, then's the time to try and catch them. But at the minute we are where we are at the minute, but we will certainly do our utmost to get up there.
There you go, Paul Lambert there, the Norwich City manager. Now, events commemorating the Battle of Britain got underway in our region today. The Lord Mayor of Norwich kicked off an extremely special week with a march by the band of the Royal Air Force College. That was followed by a fly-past, by the RAF immediately after. The Battle of Britain lasted more than 3 months during 1940. The 15th of September proved a landmark date, the British repelling a huge attack by the German Luftwaffe. A service will be held at Norwich Cathedral on Sunday. Now then, to that story we hoped to bring you earlier, and Essex Police have begun an investigation after an officer used CS spray on a suspect from point-blank range after he'd been arrested.
Anglia Tonight has obtained footage of the incident, which happened outside a bar in Brentwood last night. The pictures show an officer repeatedly using the spray on a man who'd already been detained.
The police have confirmed to us that it was CS spray, and now an inquiry is underway. Police guidelines actually state the spray should only be used when an officer faces violence or the threat of violence, and should not be used at a distance of less than 1 metre.
We should warn you, you may find some of the images disturbing in Phil Bale's report.
Firefighters were tackling a blaze in Brentwood when police who'd cordoned off High Street were asked to help eject a man from a pub opposite. What follows has led to demands for an independent inquiry into their methods, especially their use of CS gas. 2 women accuse police of injuring the man. They are told to leave the area. Meanwhile, he lies handcuffed face down, and his ankles are bound. There is blood on the curb, his face is in the road. An officer appears to tell the shouting woman she will be restrained too if she doesn't leave. A sergeant grabs her by the neck, moves her to the side, and then pushes a woman who intervenes. A policewoman runs in, grabs the second woman, and both of the protesters are pushed to the ground. The first woman has her hands cuffed behind her back. What happens next to the man gives the greatest cause for concern. He's forced onto the bonnet of a car, apparently kneed, and despite being restrained is sprayed with CS gas into an open wound or wounds several times. The first reaction when sprayed in the eyes is to wipe them. The man cannot do that. Apparently crying out in pain, he's put on the ground. The women are told to stay down, and an officer asks them if they want to be sprayed too. John O'Connor, a former head of the flying squad, viewed these pictures and called for an investigation by the Police Complaints Commission.
In this case, I don't think there are enough officers, because it certainly seems that the injuries that this man sustained look as though they were sustained during the incident rather than beforehand, and that's not really acceptable.
Mr O'Connor doesn't want the officers disciplined but retrained, but the police's own guidelines say spray shouldn't be used less than 1 metre away unless risk to the officer is severe. Essex Police have launched an investigation. They say any allegations of excessive force or assault are taken very seriously. The investigation will consider all evidence available to determine whether the officers acted correctly at all times. But civil liberties groups condemned the use of gas.
Here, I can't see any justification on the basis of the footage I've seen for using it so close, and as I say, dangerously close. It can have really devastating side effects.
Some who witnessed last night's incident say police had no choice.
The reason they done that is because he was out of control, you see.
A 28-year-old man was arrested for common assault, public order offences and being drunk and disorderly. 2 women were arrested under the Public Order Act. All are still in custody. Phil Bales, Anglia News, Brentwood.
Well, as we said,